guys, my name is Abby DeGarmo, and today we're going to be doing a quick little presentation on how cognitive psychology can be applied in the real world. Today, we're going to be focusing on categorization. So, a little bit about my project is that we're going to explore how we categorize in the real world and get a deeper understanding of a couple of types of ways that we can categorize. So you're probably thinking, what is categorization? Basically, it's an external function that can be defined as a class of similar things that share one or two things as an essential core or some similar perceptual, biological, or functional properties. And this definition is from Dr. Berta's slide. Thank you so much. And an internal version of categorization is concept, which is a mental representation of some object, event, or pattern that is stored in much knowledge typically thought relevant to that object, event, or pattern. So one view of categorization is the classical view. This is created by Aristotle. Categorization is through features, like what features are necessary or sufficient. A couple assumptions of this view is that concepts are mentally presented in a list of features. Membership of categories is either all or nothing, and then all members are created equal. There is a couple problems with this view. People do not represent features. No human looks alike, so we physically can't put anybody in certain categories because their membership will be all or nothing, which goes into our second point. Category memorization is all or nothing. You either have this feature or you don't. There's fuzzy boundaries. What is deemed, like what makes a category if only a couple things have it, and not everything is equal. So a couple of examples I have for this classical view is what comes to mind when we think of flowers. We think of petals, stems, pollen, and what happens when we think about cars? We think of wheels, lights, windows, doors. The basic things that we think of a car or a flower. The second view of categorization is prototype. A prototype is the best or most representative category. If it's sufficiently similar, it'll be in the same category. We can kind of understand prototypes through family resemblance. Someone in the family may or may not have a certain feature. One family member might have blue eyes, another one might have brown eyes. One has curly hair, the other one has straight hair. And at least everybody has some resembling features. There is an effect of prototype, which is called the prototype effect, which is a faster, more accurate to categorize a prototype that has not been seen before than a new variation. So an example of this. What comes to mind when we think about dogs, cats, or fish? Well, depending on your exposure, the first kind of dog that might come to mind is a golden retriever, or a tabby cat, or even a goldfish. The third view of categorization is the exemplar view. It's basically an example of a member of a category. Membership is determined by new features of the exemplar, which can, and there's two effects in this view. The prototype effect, like we discussed earlier, they'll be similar, be very similar to the exemplar view. And the typicality effect is, we identify things that are more typical than atypical, and then again, typical exemplars will have a faster reaction time. So what does this mean? So when we look at this bulb, we immediately think, oh, the bulb is going to be a rose. However, an exemplar is like that bulb can be either a peony, an amaryllis, or Queen Anne's lace flower. Additionally, there is some problems to this, it's not well behaved. You can't understand a lot of things. Like, there's a problem with similarity and definition. How do we define similarity in each of these views? And the last view of categorization is that is knowledge-based view. The definition, again, from Dr. Beretta, thank you so much. The relationship between a concept and an example of a concept is analogous to the relationship between the theory and the data supporting it. So what does this really mean? It really means that we use knowledge to justify our classifications, and then we use the knowledge to justify, to explain why those might be categorized. So check this out. We have some sugar, eggs, flour, icing, and a pan. What would we think? Maybe, oh, this is just a couple of random things. We might go to the get it from the grocery store, or that we might have lying around our house, when actually, using prior knowledge, we could make a cake. And that is my presentation on categorization. Thank you so much.